Welcome to another podcast. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at how to calculate descriptive statistics inside of our calculator this semester, MathStudio. Now, we've had previous videos on the topic of descriptive statistics, specifically looking at the grouped standard deviation and grouped mean. And I wanted to show you how to do those within MathStudio itself. And so I have a little bit of an example set up here where we have a survey that's being conducted by the American Psychological Association. And basically they're asking people to rate things on what's commonly referred to as a Likert scale. So they're ranking their satisfaction with their own lives on a scale of 1 to 5. And so what we see here is we see the collection of data points. So the data is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we also see the frequencies associated with that. So for example, when you see 1, that means that 12 people said that they were very unsatisfied with their lives, versus a 5 where 27 people said that they were very satisfied. And what I want to look at for this is I want to calculate the average or the mean response. Now, we did this previously using a table. I want to do this using MathStudio, but I do want to remind you of the formula. The formula here is that, you can see it boxed, is that the average, x bar, is equal to the sum of x times f. Well, in MathStudio, we're going to write this literally as the sum of x times f divided by the sum of f. So let me go ahead and bring in MathStudio window. This is the desktop version of MathStudio, so it may look a little bit different than your iPad or iPhone versions, but it is exactly the same. And so the first thing I have to do is look at my x values and create a data set that mimics the x values. So for example, I'm going to let x be equal to the data set 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that controls the data. If I hit enter, it shows this list of 1 through 5. Now, one of the things to remember when using MathStudio to do statistics, you have to enter all data sets into square brackets separated by commas. And so if you're looking on the number pad for the square bracket, it's over here on the bottom right, and the comma is in the middle. So next up, I want to do the same thing with the frequency set, so I'm going to call that set f. And so f is equal to 12, 8, 42, 32, and 27. And we'll go ahead and enter that. So now if I want to calculate the actual average in this case, then it takes both x and f into account. And the formula here is if you go and find, so I search for it, but you guys can scroll through your catalog to find it. We're searching for the sum function. So if you find the sum function, the way it works is if you click sum, notice that it's the sum of a function that you enter. So the way that's going to work for us is I'm going to do the sum of x times f divided by the sum of f. And notice I just typed in those commands. I didn't go and select the sum command each and every time. You don't have to do that. In your iPad and iPhone, though, remember that you can star commands so that you can get to them easily. But you have the sum of x times f divided by the sum of f, and that is a literal sort of translation here of what the formula actually is. And if I hit enter, it's going to return to me, this time a fraction, but if I hit enter again, it'll give me a decimal. And so that says that the mean is equal to 3.446 for this particular question. So the average response was 3.446. And that seems to make sense. The largest numbers are grouped up around 3 and 4, so somewhere between 3 and 4 would make sense for this particular distribution. Now, there are other statistical things that we can do that are fairly easy to do within MathStudio. So what if I wanted to know the average frequency? So, you know, we have 12, 8, 42, 32, 27. How could I find the average frequency? Well, the command that you need for that is the mean. And so you see here, mean is going to calculate the average of numbers in a list. And so I could ask, what is the mean of my frequency? So the mean of the frequency is 24.2. So on average, 24.2 people responded to each question. That's what that's basically saying. That may or may not be useful. Another thing we could look at is the standard deviation. And so if you scroll through your catalog, you can find the standard deviation command. And so I want the standard deviation of f. And this sort of gives me the average spread between the values. So on average, there's a distance of about 14 between the mean and each of these values. That's kind of how we think of standard deviation. So the mean is 24. On average, there's a distance of 14, either above or below 24 to each of these values, on average. So these are just some quick ways that you can handle descriptive statistics inside MathStudio. It all revolves around you entering first the data as a set, and then the frequency as a set, and then correctly identifying whatever commands you need in order to calculate what's requested, whether it be standard deviation, mean, or in this case, grouped mean. This is the grouped mean formula. And what's nice about this is you can just write this formula down, and if you change x and you change f and recalculate this, it's the same thing. So you don't have to change this formula. The formula doesn't change, but the x and the f do, depending on how you set them up for the problem. All right, we're going to take a look at one more calculation inside MathStudio. It's a little bit more complicated. It's the grouped standard deviation calculation. We're going to do that in the next video, so make sure you take a look at that. Thank you for watching.